The next gentleman I'm about to introduce was actually here right on day one of Expo. But in addition to the audience here, I want to say a quick hello to those who are live streaming and watching this. We've got about 40 nations joining us, so I know you can see me right now. And we just want to say thank you for being a part of this as well virtually. So, this next gentleman, as you do, I was on his LinkedIn account. And I saw that a couple days ago, he had quarterback and champion, Super Bowl champion Russell Wilson, as well as award-winning singer Kiara, showcasing the future of Mercedes. Some of you have seen this future. We've got a vision car right behind us, and I believe it did something pretty monumental. Some of us have driven from the Swiss Alps down to southern France. It's about 1,000 kilometers. Imagine doing that on a single charge. That is part of the future of Mercedes. We're very happy to have a man who started as a trainee, as part of the associate program in Mercedes, going all the way up to now being the CEO. Please welcome onto our Startup Autobahn stage, the wonderful Ola.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Saeed. And thanks to everybody that is coming to this event again. It's great to see everybody back, also in person. As was mentioned, we were one of the founding partners. We have been here from day one, and it's therefore a specific honor to be able to give a short speech and then talk with Saeed on stage about what's going on with Mercedes in the context of innovation and startup economy. Love your outfit, by the way, Dan. My tailor is far too conservative, but I'm sure we can take care of that as well. So what do I want to talk about today? In the context of click, whoever has the control of the slides. Next slide, please. In the context of the auto industry, and if we think about innovation and startups, what is it all about? I'm sure you know that the automotive industry, as many or most industries, we're in a fundamental transformation. You could always call it a disruption. What is driving this disruption, as is mostly the case, it's technology, but it's not just technology, it's technology in the context of a bigger journey. And decarbonization in our business is one of those global journeys. I've chosen this EQXX research car as my theme through this presentation today. 3 years ago, when we presented something that we call Ambition 2039, our commitment to decarbonization, be CO2 neutral, at least 10 years ahead of when the Paris Climate Agreement suggests to do so, so much has happened since then. And we have doubled down. This is a holistic commitment. Not just the obvious thing that we talk about, the product electric cars, then powered by CO2-free electricity. It's about the supply chain. I'll talk about that. It's about our own operations, production. We're going CO2 neutral already this year in our worldwide production. But it's also about the product in use. So you have to think about it in all dimensions to be able to master this transformation. And in fact, as we were going along, we were saying, can we go faster? Should we go faster? And the answer is yes. So we're now putting the company in a position, capital allocation, engineering resources, everything we got to put Mercedes in a position that by the end of this decade that we can serve markets 100% electrically if they're ready for that, and we will push for it. That's the one major trend that is driving the change to transformation of the auto industry. On the next slide, the other one is digitization and computing power. If I think back, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, how much processing computing power could you package in a vehicle and still fit 4 or 5 passengers into it? A lot. If I compare to what we put in our cars now, it's unbelievable. Some people talk about a smartphone on wheels. I think we should rather talk about a supercomputer on wheels. With the best sensing technology that we have ever had, married to artificial intelligence, software, the cloud, the whole thing. This is becoming so much more than just a connected car. You can make phone calls or listen to music or whatever. It's becoming a thing in the Internet of Things. We're on the verge of really now cracking the code on autonomous driving, having more and more situations where you can relax and the car drives you. Everybody in the future at some point could potentially have their own chauffeur, a very safe and smart chauffeur. And if you think that thought even further, what do you get then? You get back the greatest gift of all, time. Time that you can choose to do something else with, whatever you choose to do. So there's an endless amount of possibilities in the digital frame of the product and everything in and around the product. And that is why I'm so excited to be here, because many companies, many of the startups, they're of course thinking about this. We sometimes say, yes, we're going into this software-driven world, but it's not a software-driven world that is replacing the hardware. The vehicle is still a physical product. So when we talk about being more software-driven, more digital, that is a dimension that is growing in our business and in our engineering culture inside the company. But it's not a replacement. So much of the innovation is going on the hardware side. I mean, it's almost like we've just scratched the surface. So my point is innovation. It's about innovation. And if you want to be successful in innovation, next to having in your DNA a pioneering spirit, you will need cooperation. Cooperation. And this research car, the EQXX, which was a challenge to the engineering community, and the project leader sitting here in the first row, Jasmine, we told the engineers, we'll give you a challenge. Can you make a car, but a real car, not a fake car, like a real car that can drive 1,000 kilometers on one battery charge? And you can't cheat. You're not allowed to put a monster battery into it. I mean, anybody could do that. Just fill up the whole car with a battery, and I'm sure you can go 1,000 kilometers. It's got to be a battery that is about the size of a battery that we have in cars that we sell today. I have to admit, I was ever so slightly skeptic. The engineers were not. They said, challenge accepted. I didn't know they were going to be successful. They were more than successful. Not only did they drive the 1,000 kilometers, recently, a couple of weeks ago, 1,200 kilometers, but it was collaboration. It was engineers that we have here in Sindelfingen in Stuttgart. The Formula One team was involved. So a lot of the fast-paced innovation that is going on there came into this. But also, startups were involved. So if I take my first example, here's one startup, UBQ. They're from Israel. They're working on alternative materials, in this case, plastic replacement, coming with materials from recycled. We have applied so-called bionic body structures in this car to have very rigid and stiff and crash-safe structures, but as little material as possible, so you save weight and you save cost and so on. These materials could be suitable for that. But it's not just kind of, it's someday in the future maybe. Some of these materials we actually use on cabling in cars that we produce in series production today. So it is happening. Another example is a company from, I think they're from here, from Stuttgart actually, Ventus. They model wind and predict how wind is going to affect the route. Now you might say, who cares? Don't you just drive and that's it? We care. Why do we care? We care because in an electric era, efficiency is the new currency. Because efficiency is, of course, range, but it's also cost. Better efficiency, longer range, lower cost, smaller batteries, weight, and then back to the ecological footprint. If you can make them smaller, less materials, and so on. And for those of you who have done a little bit of automotive engineering, that you know in the different forces that you have to overcome, drag is one of them, and wind does affect drag. So you can theoretically change your navigation route slightly, depending on wind. I know it's a marginal gain, but that's not the point. The point is it's finding technologies that will improve efficiency. That was the statement and the mission of the EQXX. Create a car, a real car that can go 1,000 kilometers, but don't build a monster big battery. Those technologies are going to be in series production cars, some of them already in 2 to 3 years' time. So not science fiction, not something that is 10 years away. It's tangible. It's almost there. So how are we going to do it? We're going to do it together. Whether you are a startup that is a 136-year-old, like this humble startup called Mercedes, or you are a startup that is 6 months old, if you have an open mind, a pioneering spirit, and a technology that has the potential to change the world, you have the potential to change the world together with us. And I think that is what this meeting today is all about. Thank you very much.